This video will contain spoilers. There's going to be quite a bit of reviews in this because of the show that I will review after this, but I'll explain why when I do that review. In the meantime, Landman, universally positive ratings, Paramount original series created by Taylor Sheridan. I watched it on Paramount. Billy Bob Thornton, Ali Larter, Demi Moore, John Hamm. Special guest stars Michael Pena and shit, I can't remember his name. Emilio Rivera. What I'm planning on doing for Yellowstone is I'm going to watch it one season at a time. So I watched season 1 of Yellowstone. It took me only 2 weeks. And then I started Landman. I only got about half an hour into it. Still had 20 minutes left of the first episode. And I was planning on watching it the following week. But the following week I had to go to a funeral. And then the week after, I spent the whole day catching up on the shows that I would have watched with my granda. Like Death in Paradise, NCIS Washington, and NCIS Sydney. And yeah, it's just those three for now. But I'm recording this on Wednesday, by the way. This Sunday, I finally watched the last 20 minutes. The show's great. There's some things that are quite similar to Yellowstone, which is I love all that. Michael Pena and Emilio Rivera's deaths were predictable because they're such big stars. I didn't expect them to last the whole season. Like basically once you get that scene, so it starts like, yeah, they're gonna die here. Not to say that it was a bad scene or anything like that, but it's just it was too predictable. And also, I noticed that this could be just something that is wrong with the TV, but I noticed that it looks weird. For example, all the blood and the explosions and shit look pink rather than red and orange. And I assumed that what had happened was because I was watching it on my granny's TV, I thought that she got Dad to turn the brightness up, but he noticed it as well and he asked what was up with that, and I said I thought you turned the brightness up, and he said no, I didn't turn the brightness up. And then we went off Paramount and the brightness was still up. It still looked weird watching something regular like fucking Tipping Point. So no idea what's up with that. I don't blame the show for it, but it's just it had kind of, I want to say ruined because it didn't ruin it, but it affected me experiencing the show in a negative way. Like it brought it down like one tiny peg. I think Billy Bob Thornton was perfectly cast. The comedy in the show is amazing. Like Yellowstone has comedy moments as well, but they're not as common as they are in this. And this, like, genuinely is fucking hilarious at times. Also, just something I want to point out, something that's been on my chest because I seen it like 3 weeks ago at this point, I think. And I've just been thinking about it for so long. And it's like one of the very first scenes where Billy Bob Thornton's son is meeting up with Michael Pena and Emilio Rivera for the first time. And they go to like some truck stop, and basically the whole purpose of this place is just all the landmen just all order coffee. And they all order black coffee, and Billy Bob Thornton's son orders a latte. And they decided to throw it out because, oh, the milk will be curdled by the time you get around to drinking it. Fucking no. And I'd rather just not drink coffee at all than drink black coffee because, I mean, I don't feel the benefits. I don't feel the caffeine. But this is all irrelevant to the review. So it's just something I wanted to get off my chest. Overall, it is a really good show, but it's not Yellowstone. Matlock 24. Universally positive ratings. CBS original series. I watched it on Sky. Kathy Bates. The show is good. I've never seen the original, but I figured lawyers, so I like all that, so I decided to watch it, and yeah, it's pretty good. The reason why I watched it now in particular is because I haven't mentioned this in a little bit, but I'm still going through the Yakuza series. I'm done with Dead Souls. I'm on Black Panther 2. I'm on chapter 4 out of 10, and I am falling asleep watching them. So whenever I film myself falling asleep on, I don't know what day it was. I'm just gonna guess Saturday. I said, oh, I'll put on a bit of Matlock, and I got 20 or 30 minutes into it. I thought, yeah, it's a pretty good show, and then I stopped because I think I went to get my dinner, and then my man joined and we were doing stuff, and then Dylan joined and we were doing stuff, and then just a bunch of other stuff happened that I didn't get around to finishing it, and by the time I got back to watching Black Panther, I was in the mood for watching Black Panther. I wasn't tired or anything like that, so I decided to do that instead of watching Matlock. And I thought, right, I'll wait until I watch more until I finish that episode before I make my review for everything that I'm reviewing in this. That was a mistake, but can't take it back. So here we are. Overall, it's quite a good show. I like how Matlock is sort of pretending to be an old woman. Like, I don't know if it is pretend or that's just how she is, but she is acting because the whole thing is that she is joining this particular firm because they may or may not have been responsible for her daughter's death, and she wants to take them down. Which I didn't expect the show to have like an overall plot like that. Thought of anything, it would just be there's this one big case that they spend the entire season tackling. So I'm glad that they have something there, and it is quite interesting. I don't know what else to say. Oh, I do know something to say. It's weird that they decided to have it so that the original Matlock show is a show in, the sort of universe of Matlock 24. And then they have all these people who are a couple years older than me, like probably I would say 8 years older than me at most, not knowing what these shows from the 80s are. Like, no fucking way you don't know Matlock. No fucking way you don't know the A-Team. No fucking way you don't know MacGyver. There probably were a couple others, but I can't remember what they were. That's all I have to say, I think. High potential. Universally positive ratings. Feel the original series. Caitlin Olsen. Javica Leslie. Taron Cullum. I'm glad that Javica Leslie, her career has recovered what feels like so quickly after the end of Batwoman. I get it was like 2.5 years, and the only thing she really did in between was 5 episodes of The Flash. But just I'm glad that she's doing something, and that this is a success. The show's great. Great seeing Caitlin Olsen on on a show that my dad would watch because he fucking hates Always Sunny, even though he finds it really funny. So he only really knows Caitlin Olsen from that show she did in 2017, The Mick. But I find it weird that like she did that show and she's doing this, and it's not like Always Sunny is over. And I get that they're only doing 10 episodes of Always Sunny a year, and for the past couple of years, because of Corona or the strikes or whatever, it's been few and far between for the seasons. So she has the time, but it's just I find it weird. I get Rob McElhenney has Mythic Quest, but I don't know, that seems normal to me, probably because he created the show. Whereas Caitlin Olsen didn't create this, and she didn't create the Mick. And then Charlie Day's done movies. Glenn Howerton did AP Bio, which I wasn't a fan of. And he had a recurring role on the last season of House of Lies, and he did the Blackberry movie, Danny DeVito's Danny DeVito. Don't know what else to say there. But the point is, it always felt weird to me when Caitlin Olsen did it, but not the others. I don't know why. But I'm glad because it is a really good show. Although I realized Drew Goddard created it, and because of everything that I listened to with the Always Sunny podcast, the Good Place podcast, which I don't know if I've mentioned it in a video before, but you know that's a podcast that was made by the people behind the Good Place show, and they just spend the entire fucking podcast glazing the show, and it's, you know, in my opinion, it's a really good show, but they raise it to be like it's one of the best shows ever made. It's revolutionary, which it just isn't. And Drew Goddard has some sort of connection to that show. I'm not too sure what it is. So whenever I hear that name, I do cringe. But he has done a really good job of this. The the writing is top level. The directing is quite good, or the cinematography is quite good. I'm sorry that these past 3 reviews were quite short, but I just don't know what to say. Click mixed ratings and watch Amazon Prime with Binman, Adam Sandler, Kate Beckinsale, Cameron Monaghan, Jonah Hill, Christopher Walken, Henry Winkler, Jennifer Coolidge, Sean Astin, David Hasselhoff, Katie Cassidy, Lily Mo Sheen. Huh. I thought the only time that Lily Mo Sheen and Kate Beckinsale worked together was on one of the Underworld movies. It's her daughter, just in case you don't know. And I didn't actually know if that was the lead singer of the Cranberries or not, because I like Zombie and I like Linger, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan of the band because they're the only 2 songs that I know. And I was just thinking to myself, if that is her, the timing, or not timing, but it's inconvenient, or not. It aged poorly because she died in 2016, I want to say. And the scene that she appears in takes place in the 2020s or the 2030s. Oh, and James Earl Jones is in the film as well. So, this is... I was a bit concerned going into this film because I feel like, you know, before Batman got me onto the Adam Sandler films, I was thinking, all these are quite bad from what I've heard. And then I started watching them. I thought, okay, they're quite good. But if there is that one film that's going to be like, this is the epitome of bad Adam Sandler films, it will be Click. And then Batman told me, it's one of his favorite. He actually cried watching it. I was like, what? Really? And then I seen a scene from the film, and it's the scene where Adam is told that he hasn't been promoted, so he like pauses David Hasselhoff and farts in his face. I'm like, you fucking cried to this movie? But actually watching it, I nearly did too. Like the first half is quite funny, but then it starts like fast forwarding and thinking, yeah, oh god, he's making all the wrong decisions. Like the click remote, you can use it to benefit your life so much. Like the bit where you used it to translate what the Japanese people were saying was great, but fast forwarding, like no, don't ever do that. It starts going years and years ahead, and there's no way to go back because you can just revisit memories, but you can't. You can revisit them, but you can't actually go back in time. You can only fast forward. And it just there were still some funny moments when it started happening, but it still was overall like depressing as fuck. I was thinking like, please make it so that this is a dream, or that it's just a lesson, which that I was right, thank God. Sorry about that. I don't know where I was, other than me fucking praying that the whole thing was just a dream, or the way that it actually was, that it's like a cautionary tale. um, to be honest, it feels like an adaptation of something, because I feel like I've seen this story before, but I can't think of what it is, other than maybe Groundhog Day, but that's not exactly the same. But it it's so weird having an Adam Sandler film be this depressing, because I mean, right, I've never seen Uncut Gems, but I know that Uncut Gems is a full on drama. It's not a comedy. And then you have films like Punch Drunk Love, which it's a dramedy, but the drama in it it's a light drama, especially compared to this. Um, Once again, I do not know what else to say. This genuinely is one of Adam Sandler's best films, which is saying a lot. Actually, I do have something to say. Whenever you first see Katie Cassidy as Sam in the picture, like, I thought I recognized her. I was like, where the fuck I recognize her from? And then, like, I thought, is that Katie Cassidy? Like, that's who appeared in my head, or the name that appeared in my head. But I was thinking, that couldn't be her. Um, but it was. I was like, oh, oh. Also, if something I find weird is two more things that I can think of right now. Something I find weird is the fact that they show Adam Sandler getting fat, whereas Sean Astin he has like a healthy amount of weight on. Whereas in real life, Adam Sandler hasn't really gained or lost anything. He's like pretty healthy. Um, whereas Sean Astin has gotten quite fat, especially like, I mean, I seen him in like uh, what was that film? The one that Angel Studios made. He appeared in that, and it was like, it was whatever. But then he appeared in Love Hurts, which is only like a year later, and I think he's put on a bit, like quite a bit more weight. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's only been a year. And the last thing is that this guy Jake Kaufman that plays Adam Sandler's son, grown-up son, in the film, he sounds very fucking similar. Like, it's so weird. Similar to Adam Sandler. Before I get into this review, I just want to make something very clear. About a year and 2 months ago, I think I made a review for a show called The Next Step. Um, and in that review, I think I said mostly bad things, if not exclusively bad things. But I said that I was going to continue the show because I was watching it with Binman, and I noticed that a lot of my friends were doing a thing where, especially Binman, where two people would watch a show that one person chooses, and then they'd watch another show that the other person chooses. So in the case of Binman, he'd be watching The Next Step with Dylan, um, and then Dylan would put on like some anime, My Hero, Demon Slayer, JJK, all of them, like all of the above, and some more. And then for me, it started with Black Lagoon, but we gave up just before the end of season 1 because the way that we were doing it wasn't really substantial, if that makes sense. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but I was like, what else could we watch? I don't know. White Collar, my favorite show ever. We watched maybe 3 episodes of that before we just stopped, and we didn't like give up. We just stopped. Um, but then that was like January, I think, and then like 6 months later, or whatever, like June or July, I was like, okay, let's do this again. But instead, let's watch The Bear alongside in the next step, and we did that for a bit, and we finished The Bear. And then I was like, let's watch Shameless, and started that back from the start. Like before I started watching it with him, I got up to the start of season 5, and now we're a couple episodes into season 5. Um, and we watched up to the end of season 4 of The Next Step, and my opinion on the show has drastically changed because it used to be that it was just like, I get it's not made for me, but I don't see what like what's up with this show. Um, but then somewhere along the line, I was like, oh, holy shit, this show is actually like, really fucking funny. Like it's a lot funnier than a lot of shows, you know. Um, and the characters like Riley, James, West, Noah, a couple more, they're all amazing. And I watched the movie without Ben Man because that happened just as season 4 started. And I was gonna make a review on it, but then I realized there's nothing to review. But while we were watching The Next Step, by the way, he replaced The Next Step with Top Gear. We're on season 3 of that now. Excuse me. A lot of the time when we were watching The Next Step, Ben Man mentioned a movie called Step Up. This one here. Excuse me. Which was also about dancing, and I had the word step in the movie, or in the title. So I was always kind of curious about the film, and finally we watched it. So, Step Up. Uh, Universally negative ratings. I watched it on Prime. Channing Tatum, Jenna Dewan. They met in the film, they got married. Rachel Griffiths. Caleb Landry Jones, apparently. I had no idea what to expect from this. I didn't look up anything. Um, Watching it, I was like, this is a film from 2005, but it has that sort of look of late 90s, early 2000s films. And yeah, it still technically is early 2000s, but by this point, the majority of films had gotten rid of that look. Um, so I was disappointed by that because there's something about that look that just puts me off. Um, the film also seems like very stereotypical, like it, as if it were written by a couple of white guys trying to make a movie about like the hood. I get it's not actually like a gangster film and all that, but it kind of acts like it is. Um, but the connection between Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan was, or there was something about that it felt nice to watch. Maybe it's because they actually were like falling in love in real life. There's not much I can say about this film. It was very boring, to be honest. I don't get why Bin Man likes this film. Um, it wasn't terrible, but it's sort of all over the place. I know I've said this a couple times, but once again, I would like to apologize for the fact that I haven't had much to say in this video, despite the fact that it's 26 minutes long. One last thing. This person here, Alison Stoner, Binman said that he had recognized her, like, oh, she looks familiar. And I went to look up what else she was in, but I actually clicked on the wrong person's IMDb page. I clicked on the girl that plays her mum. And then I was looking to see what else she was in. She was only in like 14 things total. And then I realized that she appeared in a film in 1998 where she played a doctor, and I'm thinking, yeah, there's no way that could be her. Because she would have been a baby when that film came out. So I'm looking at the wrong person's page, and then I realized that the name of the character was Camille and not whoever it was I was thinking of. So click on Alison Stoner's page, and like, let's see what else she was in. I was like, what the fuck? It's Isabella from Phineas and Ferb. But I didn't see anything else she was in other than a couple of the sequels to this film, which feels weird. That's all I have to say. Heart Eyes, mixed ratings. I watched it in the cinema. Jordana Brewster. I was expecting this film to be like very low quality, but maybe still quite entertaining. I was wrong. It is like, not only is this film quite entertaining, at the start, it's very fucking violent. I was surprised. The first scene, the couple that Hard Eyes is targeting, they're the guy is proposing to his girlfriend in a vineyard, and Hard Eyes kills the guy and kills the photographer. The fiance runs to where they like put the wine in the barrels or whatever, and she hides in a barrel of wine, but it's not like a wooden barrel; it's a metal barrel that I think they. I don't know the process for making wine, but I guess you have to spin it around or something. That's what that. That's what this machine is used for. She hides in there, and Heart Eyes. He locks her in there and activates the machine, and the walls of the machine close in, and you see her face go pop. Now, I've seen people be crushed to death before in films, like a character in Saw 5 gets crushed to death, but all you really see from that is his arm breaking and a bit of blood. For this, you see her face get smashed in and the blood go everywhere. And then it pours into like whatever the fuck it's supposed to pour into, like it's wine. And like, if it weren't for the fact that people knew that people died there, someone might assume that that's just wine. And they would bottle it and sell it to people, and people would just end up drinking blood. Um, the rest of the film feels more like a rom-com that has horror elements in it. I didn't expect it to go full on romance. I thought that was just going to be a theme, not like the whole genre, if you know what I mean. Um, like it is quite stereotypical in some ways. For a romance film, but the fact that it is a horror film makes it's more like a parody of those kind of films. So it is acceptable, um, but also at the same time there'll be scenes where like the girl will be like, "Oh, I love you" to the guy, and he's like, "We're being chased by a fucking serial killer. Now's not the time." Also, we met literally 12 hours ago. Part of the way through the film, I was thinking to myself, they shown like where Hard Eyes had attacked, and I was thinking, there's no way that he's getting to all those places in a day. And then later on in the film, I thought, oh, it's kind of reminding me of Scream. Maybe it is like Scream in the fact that there's multiple killers, and there was. There's three killers in this film. Um, and the way that they did those three killers, I quite like. Because you have the first guy who dies, say 3/4 of the way into the film, and like they take off the mask, and it's just some nobody, and like, oh, so it's no one we know. That makes sense, I guess. Um, but then it turns out that Hard Eye's still alive, and they do a big reveal for who the other two are. And the first guy takes off his mask, and it's some Asian guy, and main girl's like, "Who the fuck are you?" I'm like, "I'm David." Who the fuck's David? I'm the IT guy, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't remember David was like when he took the mask off. I was like, oh, it's David, huh?" But this is a case of the film making fun of Remember Me writing the same way that Spider-Verse 2 made fun of Remember Me writing, because, with Last of Us 2, which is where I have my hatred for Remember Me writing, where the villain will be like, "Remember me," and it's just some random nobody who has 5 minutes of screen time, if even. And it sucks. Like, having a villain have a somewhat personal connection to the main character can be done so much better. It doesn't have to be just pick some random cunt out of a hat. But because, what's her name? Ali didn't recognize David. That it's clear that it was supposed to be a parody of that type of writing. I'm glad. And then Jordana Brewster's the last killer, which that was a bit weird. It just it didn't really seem right, but it was whatever. It wasn't like it didn't ruin the film or anything. um, One of the very first jump scares in the film really got me. Like it like really scared me. And actually did the sort of thing you see in cheesy movies where characters watching a horror film and they jump and they spill their popcorn everywhere. I try very hard not to do that when I watch horror films. Usually what I'll do when I watch a non-horror film is I try my best to not eat the popcorn until the film starts. With horror films, I start eating it immediately, because if the bag is full, I'm more likely to spill it everywhere if I jump. Whereas if it's, say, 3/4 full, I'm less likely. Um, I did do that, but I still did spill it. It didn't go everywhere. It mostly went in my shirt. and I just added off my shirt because clean shirt. So I don't see the problem. Also, when I saw Shaw and I thought, is that Jordana Brewster? And then they made that joke about her name being Shaw and her partner being Hobbs, and they were like, oh, like Fast and Furious. I didn't even think like that's Jordana Brewster from Fast and Furious. I just thought that's Jordana Brewster. Overall, I think it's a fucking amazing film. Actually, sorry, one more thing. I do want to make a comment on the post credit. I saw that someone was like, "Oh, maybe this means that there's another Hard Eyes or something like that," which I would like to see a sequel. But I, my opinion on the post credit is, whenever Ali stops talking to Monica, I think what it is that she's just kissing Jay. It's not like she got kidnapped or anything.